Sandhya Suri is the writer and director of Santosh. This film screened in Uncertain Regards section of the 77th Cannes Film Festival. It marked her debut in narrative feature filmmaking. I spoke to her on the response to the film, her experience directing it, and more. Take a look. Sandhya Suri, the British Indian director of Santosh, which has screened in the Uncertain Regards section of the 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival, is here with me in Cannes. Welcome to DD India. Congratulations for the screening. How has the response to the film been?
Very, very warm so far. We had our premiere yesterday and very moving, wonderful, long applause and a lot of people coming up, and also US distribution. So that's a very big win for us. Very, very, very good response.
It's great to know that. Tell us about the backstory. How did the idea strike you? What inspired you to take this up?
Well, I was looking at, I was in North India working with various NGOs, researching about violence against women. And I was trying to find a way to tell the story in documentary, but I found it difficult to find the right way in. And then the horrible case happened in 2012 of the gang rape and the birth, and the media attention of the whole world became pointed to this suddenly. And I saw an image of female protesters and a line of Indian police officers. And I saw one lady who had a very interesting expression on her face in this picture. And I thought, that's how I tell this story. I tell it through her. And that's how the idea of telling it through this particular police lady, maybe somebody new in the force, came into idea. Huh?
And how did you zero in on the actors, and how was your experience working with them, both Shahana and Sunita?
Well, I started working with Mukesh Chabra Casting Company, and I actually met Shahan on the last day. And I thought there were two ways to cast Santosh, something maybe a bit more naive, or too sweet, too innocent, I didn't want. And Shahan had something a bit different. She had an edge. And so I knew when she walked in that was the right choice. And Sunita, again, I was keen not to have too much of a dawn female, a matriarch, but to have somebody with a lot of human vulnerability and a face which is soft but also quite authoritative. So she also, everything her face gave me, a very human portrayal of that character.
Sandhya, this is your debut in a narrative feature filmmaking. So what made you do it?
Well, when I decided about the story I wanted to tell, and I saw that image about the police officer, though obviously I knew that I'm not going to make a documentary about the Indian police, though that's not going to get access. So I knew just because of the story that I had to do it in fiction. Though it wasn't actually like a career move, it was this is a story that has to be told this way.
And how was your experience on the sets? How was it directing this particular movie?
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was a big first feature. Crowd scenes, stunts, this, that, railways, over 70 speaking parts. And, in documentary, you work in tiny crews. So from the beginning, I said, I want a small crew. But in India, there's no such thing as a small crew. So they said, yeah, it's less than 100. So that was as small as we got. But it was a very intense experience, but also very great Indian partners, amazing hardworking crew. And I always feel very happy to shoot in India, even documentary, because there's a problem solving nature in Indian culture which doesn't exist as well everywhere else. There's always a solution.
The film has been shot in Lucknow. So tell us, how was your experience all in all shooting in India? You've given us a broad sense of how it was. And also, how was it, getting access to the incentive scheme of the government of India? You've taken benefit from it, I understand. So tell us about that experience as a whole.
I have to say, as a director, I stay well away from how they manage that financing. But having spoken with Alan, my producer, at the India Pavilion before, he was really positive about how quickly that money came through and how actually painless the process was. So we're really grateful for that support. It really helped us because, like I said, it's an ambitious first film. And I think without that money, actually, it could have, we needed it. So it was a good experience. In terms of shooting Lucknow, around Lucknow, we were shooting always further out, not in the city. We were always outside, so a few hours travel daily. It was great, very shooting friendly. This infrastructure, you get pretty much everything you need, and fantastic locations. So I was, yeah, very happy.
Why is there so much India in your work, in your documentary for India and now in Santosh?
Because I'm ultimately an Indian born in the UK, culture's something that you feel, there are Indians who live abroad who don't have a relationship with India. And then there are Indians who are born abroad but have a strong bond. My father was a very sentimental man who came to England in the 60s but missed his motherland all the time. And I inherited, I think, that connection. So for me, making films about India, it's always where I find my stories. It's always where I want to be. It's my way of keeping close to my country, my culture, just by making films there.
Tell us about your growing up years and the early influences on your art, the visual education that you got.
I'm a mathematician by studies, but even from when I went to film school, my first short, we screened at the Nehru Center. I won an award presented by Shyam Benegalji, and he looked after me. He encouraged me from those first days, and I was very much taken by his portrayal of women, of how much sensitivity in those women. So I always had him as a mentor and a tone of his filmmaking. That was a big reference for me in my work, yeah.
So does this work inspire you? Who are the other greats that inspire you?
Well, you see, generally, I am inspired so much more strongly by the world and real life than I am by what's on screen, actually. So for me, my inspiration comes from being on location, meeting the people who live in the place of my set, looking for the truth there. Though I'm always inspired by real life.
What makes you decide to do a film? Is there an instinct that tells you that you must do it, or is there some other imponderable?
Obviously, with Indian parents, my mother keeps asking me, why are you doing this? Why would you do that? My sister's like, what is this job that you get up at this time and you go to bed at that time? And where's the reward? And you're not even really, rich. And what's that all about? But it is like some crazy necessity I must finish the work. I must tell the work. I must not compromise. I must not think about the end about the success or failure. I must just make the work good. And there is a big purity and satisfaction in when you're making a film. You don't worry about all the other things in your life. It's one thing you have to think about. You don't have to think about fixing this in the house or doing that. It's just all about the film, and that's very satisfying.
As a British Indian director of Santosh, and you've done For India documentary as well, you are an inspiration for a lot of people around the world, including in India. So what would you tell them about how to pick up the trade and how to hone it?
I lecture a lot in film as well. I used to teach at National Film School in the UK, and also I teach in London universities now. I love teaching because I love just, I think that whatever you say, it's important as a filmmaker to have something to say, and to say it from the heart. I'm very simplistic like that. You have something to say, be authentic, have a go, and don't expect, be patient. I graduated film school a very, very, very long time ago, and now I'm at Cannes 20 years later with my first fiction feature. So, be in it for the long run. Don't give up. Don't give up is what I would say.
In 2016, you were selected for both the Screenwriters Lab and the Directors Lab at the Sundance Film Festival. How can budding filmmakers really aim to get there to get the best exposure?
Well, I think you can, as far as I know, you can just apply to the lab. Sometimes they find filmmakers whose work they're interested in. I mean, I had already had my feature documentary at Sundance, so they knew of me. And I had spoken to them about the idea, the seed of this idea. They said, go write the script. It's a good idea. And I'd never written a fiction script before. So don't be afraid to apply. Don't be afraid if you've never done it before. If the idea is good, and if they see something, just the root of something in there, then they will help you refine it and develop it and make it really strong.
I've come to know that there are at least 10 Indian directors who are now aiming to pitch their films here in the main competition section. Your film is in uncertain regard. Do you also plan to be here competing for the Palme d'Or? Sometime, maybe in future.
Well, I think all competitions have different flavors about them. So I'm delighted to be in Un Certain Regard. Like, to be in official selection is a very big thing. So for me, I don't really see a big difference to be in main competition or in Un Certain Regard. I'm super, super happy where I am. Very grateful to be here.
Any favorite locations for you around the world? Is India going to be your favorite location in future as well? Or will you be experimenting with different locations around the world?
Look, if I'm not shooting in India, I don't know what to do in India. Like, I've always been shooting in India since I was little, taking my camera out on the streets, interviewing people, talking to them. My father was like that as well, a cineast, doctor. I just find it, I can't go to India, just lie down, khana khao, so jao, na have a holiday, aram kar. I can't do that because I'd be too bored. So for me, I will always find stories there. There's not a shortage of stories. So yeah, I'm sure, but it won't be the only place. No.
So was Santosh a learning experience? What is it that you've learned from it?
I for India, huh? Santosh is, I can't even begin to process what I learned because I learned so much. Because it is a big feature. It's a big first feature. So I'm still, and always in the adrenaline of just trying to get ready for Cannes. Trying to finish the film on time, in budget. First the adrenaline of the shoot, then the adrenaline of trying to finish the edit on time, then the sound mix, then get the technicals ready for Cannes. I only just now arrived. All I feel is like I should go to sleep now because I need some time to process. I wasn't sure if I would like fiction or not. It's a very different thing to documentary, but I did enjoy the adrenaline. Actually, I did enjoy that.
And I see you also write the stories. Yeah. Does that make you have a stronger connect with direction?
Yeah, I haven't directed anybody else's work, so for me, that's why maybe a project takes a bit longer, because then it really is my vision, from the writing to seeing it through, because it comes from somewhere very real, for me, that I can feel good in. So yeah, I do like to write my own work.
You are here at the Cannes Film Festival, and this, you've told us, is your first time in Cannes. But you are here obviously to screen your work and to see the response to it and think of the way forward. But otherwise, as a cine buff, would you also love to see movies if you get the time for it? And what does a film festival really mean for you?
Well, as a mother who's been making a feature film in India, I've been away for months from my daughter in order to make it. A lot of sacrifices have been made, that she has to tolerate as well. Though now, for me to come to a film festival, I thought I would come and party a lot, but actually I've been going to bed early and waking up for the 8:30 a.m. screenings. And that's been lovely for me. I love to sit and have the time now to watch some films. That's very important.
You've got accolades for your work at the Sundance Film Festival. Your documentary did feature in the World Competition section, and now you're here at the Cannes Film Festival. Is it a celebration of cinema for you, these film festivals? Also, there are film festivals back home in India. There's IFFI, the International Film Festival of India. There's Mumbai Film Festival. There's Kolkata International Film Festival. Would you be looking forward to going there as well in future?
I really hope so. I really hope we get the festivals we need in India. And also, just right now, I feel that because we just finished, I'm looking forward to, a cast and crew screening in Mumbai, where everyone who was part of the film, everybody, not just the few who could make it here, can come and we can watch it together and see everybody's hard work. But it's very, very important to me to feel the Indian feedback to this film now.
You're obviously exposed to cinema from around the world, and you know where India cinema stands today. What do you think of where we are and our future? Because there's so much we are doing in terms of co-production, in terms of post-production. We are trying to attract foreign filmmakers to India. You are, of course, as a British Indian, one of them. So as far as the Indian cinema's standing is concerned, what do you think?
Well, it's a great year for India this year. It really is. So that's very exciting in terms of this year at Cannes. I think it's always, I've even been back from, when I've been making documentaries, going to these co-production things back at Dock Edge, where, we're trying to get Indian documentaries in front of European producers. I think there's a lot of room for collaboration here. I, living outside of India, don't know so much about what the theatrical landscape is like for independent films, like the film screening here, Indian film screening here. So I'd be really interested to see what the life of this film will be now in India. I hope it's a good one. Huh?
Yes. What is your family back home saying? They must have seen the premiere of your film. What kind of support do you get from home?
It's all very mysterious. Like I'm saying, the family, so why do you do this? It's too much hard work, Sandhya. It's not, why do you take this much tension? Why would anyone do that? And now, of course, then you come here and suddenly everybody understands. And, everybody's very, very proud. Very, very proud. Both in India and, my family in the UK. So,
any projects that you're currently working on?
I have an adaptation of a short novel that I am just started to work on. So I'm not someone who has 100 projects at a time. So one or two things, yes.
Would you be experimenting with other genres as well?
Yes, it is. It is very different. Oh. Very different. Yeah. I always want to do something different.
And any future projects besides, of course, the current one? Do you have something in mind, maybe for future, maybe a big, ambitious plan or project?
Nothing ready to share yet, no.
Right. And how tough is the competition in uncertain regard if you've been able to see at least some of the movies this time around?
What, have I seen anything in uncertain regard? No, I really only see main competition films, just by chance of what was available ticket-wise. I haven't actually had a chance to watch much in uncertain regard. But like I said, it's that thing. You put all your love and effort into the work, and then I don't tend to fret about what will the result be. That's its own thing. That's outside of my control, is to make the film as good as it can be. And that's what I've done now. So the rest is what the reviewers say, how it turns out. That's left to the higher powers. Yes.
Your personal favorites out of the competition section movies that you've seen?
I saw I saw the Chinese film, an unfinished film. I thought that was great. I saw was it the Romanian film, 3.5 kilometers to the end of the world or something like that? If I'm wrong, 3 kilometers to the end of the world. I thought was great. Fantastic. I love the precision. And I saw the Audiard, which I thought was pretty amazing. Yeah. The Emilia Perez. Brilliant. Yeah. Such a great ride. Such a perfect mix of artistry, emotion, cinema, and, and spectacle.
Do you go back enriched from here?
After I've slept, doubly enriched. Yeah, 100%.
Any networking that you've been able to do here, as in, meet a lot of directors, producers, maybe collaborations with various countries?
A bit less than it's been quite hectic, so a bit less than I'd hoped to. But I think, now, like today's been a very, very busy day, tomorrow as well. My UK agent has been, setting up some interesting people to have conversations with. So, the time goes very fast here. Between also taking care of Santosh and promoting Santosh, and then finding time to think about life after Santosh as well.
What are the strengths of Indian cinema to your mind?
Oh, that's a big question, I think what I like about, it's such a big thing to say, but I do like a cinema which is emotional. I think like Santosh's, it's a film which is very rigorous and quite sparse, quite bare, but it's a film that I hope is also emotional. So for me, I can't watch a film that's only an intellectual film. So what I like about Indian cinema is that I usually feel it quite strongly, It's about an emotional response usually. So that's important to me.
We leave it at that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. So that was a conversation with Sandhya Suri, the director of Santosh, which has screened in the Uncertain Regards section of the Cannes Film Festival. She spoke her heart out on a range of issues from her life, her influences, and the kind of projects that she's done. and the projects that she's currently working on. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Cannes for DD India.